next up, we have Daniel Musenga-Grant. It looks like you're there.
Yes.
I'll hand over to you very quickly from HV Systems. So welcome, glad to have you here. Yeah, tell us a little bit about what HV Systems is up to.
Fantastic. Just check you can see the shared screen.
Yep.
Yeah, fantastic. So HV Systems, our main goal is to produce zero emission hydrogen electric commercial vehicles. It's covering, as you can see, both HGVs and large vans, so an MCV. A quick background on the company. We've been going since 2017, but we came under new management in 2020, and since then we've had a really focused drive on producing our two vehicles. This is with the long-term goal of kind of covering the 4.25 to 40-ton vehicle bands. Recently, we received a multi-million pound investment from a strategic partner, which has really driven our business forward, and I'll talk a bit more about them later. Where we are currently as a business is we're building our demonstrator vehicles. So we're about 4 months away from completing the van and having that working and running on hydrogen, and about 9-10 up to a year away from getting the truck up and running. We're also we've secured multiple Innovate UK projects, which are currently underway, and we're also working closely with Scottish Enterprise to do a feasibility study for a rigid version of our truck, which you can see here. And we also like to work as close as we can with our end users to make sure we're meeting their current needs, but also to look to the future and see what do they need the zero emission vehicles of the future to do, so that we can make sure we're building that into our design processes and make these vehicles as marketable as they can be. A quick overview of our team. Our CEO, Jawad Khurshid, is an award-winning entrepreneur. And then we've got a kind of a group of 4 are our main automotive guys. So we've got Pete Clark, who's behind a lot of the designs that you'll see during this presentation. He also does a lot of the packaging on board, and he's got over a decade of experience in vehicle design across aerospace, military, sports cars. And then these are the 2 with the most experience is Steve Clayton, our CTO, and Keith Stanton, who's we brought in to look into manufacturing. They've got about over 70 years of experience between the 2 of them, so it's they bring a lot to the table. And then Ian Collins is the other automotive guy who's bringing specific project management for our van build. Abdul Wahid's one of our founders. He's now our Chief Innovation Officer, so he keeps track of all the different innovations and potential patents and copyrights and design registrations that arise as we're producing these vehicles, and make sure that we can protect them and bring them to market. We're also looking into a lot of modeling that we need to do for calculating the range of these vehicles, calculating, as we've mentioned already today, total cost of ownership. And Dr. David Telford, who's a recognized expert in kind of energy systems, he does a lot of work around that for us. And then the rest of our team, we've got obviously finance, we've got backgrounds in logistics. As myself with a background in energy and environmental management, bringing a sustainability view to everything we do. And then we've got some advisors which we can turn to for a specific fuel cell insight, and for construction, looking forward to the infrastructure needed as well. On to the strategic investor we got. It was from Eurogarages Group. It was a multi-million pound investment. And the reason that we were so excited about this is not just because it gave us the funds to build our 2 demonstrator vehicles, but they were also a strategic investor. Eurogarages, they own a lot of refueling sites, so 6,000 across the world, 1,500 in the UK alone. And they've also recently purchased Asda. So Asda comes with a fleet of 4,000 HGVs and 2,000 vans. So we've heard it mentioned earlier today as well, that there's a problem of what the infrastructure people saying, we'll put the infrastructure out once the vehicles on the roads, and the vehicle manufacturers saying, we'll produce these vehicles once there's infrastructure for them to refuel. But because we have Eurogarages with both the refueling stations and the vehicles under the same umbrella, that kind of removes that chicken and egg situation and removes a really big barrier to bringing hydrogen to the market. They've also got another company under that umbrella called LeasePlan, who lease commercial vehicles to other companies. So that's another route to market for us. So it's been a great boon for us to get this company as our investor. A quick look at why we're doing hydrogen. In the commercial vehicle sector, there's a demand for three things. There's the ability to carry heavy loads, there's the ability to have a long range, and there's the need for quick refueling. And I think with the incoming petrol and diesel bans and with the climate crisis, we can add, it needs to be zero emissions to that list. And hydrogen is able to deliver these in the commercial vehicle sector. And another reason that we're so excited about bringing hydrogen to this sector is because there's less need for a big infrastructure rollout. Commercial vehicles often follow set routes. So instead of having to put a hydrogen refueling station around every corner like we currently have for petrol stations, you just need to put a strategic network, say one at your warehouse, one at your depot where you're dropping the goods off. And we call this a back-to-base refueling method. And it means that you need far less refueling stations to meet your fleet needs. And our vision of the future is that companies will put in these strategic networks for themselves as these clusters. There's a good word for this session. As these clusters build up across the country, these can be open to the public and start to build up a true nationwide hydrogen network where people can refuel, and that will bring more vehicles to the road. Looking to the future, year one there is 2022, so next year. As I said, we're in the process of building our demonstrator vehicles, and this is incredibly exciting. Our fuel cell arrived last month, so that's ready to be integrated into the powertrain. The cab is starting to be completed, so the vehicle is really starting to take shape. So we're quite excited to be seeing our company moving from, as our CTO said, we're moving from a PowerPoint company to a van company that you can go and you can touch our prototype. Then moving on from that, we're still going to need more prototypes. We're going to need to verify these products in a real environment. We've got obviously ASDA end users that we can use, or we've been talking to several other fleet companies to get our vehicles into real world situations, make sure that they cover the needs that our customers have, make sure that the simulations that we've run on their range, on their performance, are actually working in the real world. And then the next year, we're going to move into start of production. We're going to try and get these trucks on the road first. We know there's a large demand for any kind of zero emission vehicle at the moment, but we're seeing the strongest pull in our sector for HGV. And the other reason that we really want to get the HGV out soon is because the Arctic HGVs give you the biggest emission savings for the least amount of vehicles converted to hydrogen, in this case, to zero emissions. After that, we'll look to diversify our range and get the van to the market as well, and just grow from there. So that's where we are as a company. We're almost completing our demonstrators, and we're very much looking forward to manufacturing and getting these vehicles on the road as soon as we can. I'll give you a little bit more of an insight into the two vehicles. So the HGV is N2, N3 vehicle category in Europe, and we think this would be quite a set vehicle design. We know there's a large market for this kind of vehicle, so we think we'll be kind of producing the same vehicle a lot of the time. But with the van, we expect this to go into a lot more niche applications. So we're already working with Scottish Ambulance Service and NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde to develop an ambulance design. Just this week, we've talked to a company about a hydrogen fire engine. So looking into these more niche and specialized vehicles, such as even motorhomes, eco and transport, and of course, smaller vans, is where we expect the van to be much more flexible, for the truck to be a bigger market. And that's what we're seeing in the market at the moment, and we're going to move into those spaces. It gives you a little look at the technology on board. It is a hydrogen electric, so there's batteries, but the main power comes from hydrogen cylinders, which we just heard about. We have hydrogen cylinders on board as well. These flow into a fuel cell, which produces electricity on board, which can either go directly to the motors or be stored in the batteries for future use. And the batteries also offer a lot of regenerative braking aspects as well, which are common to all EVs and already being utilized in battery electric vehicles. You can see we've kind of got quite a similar design between the two vehicles. This is deliberate. We've gone for a little brother, big brother technique, where there's as much design overlap as possible and as much component overlap as possible. This is to make our supply chain and manufacturing more efficient and to reduce the time needed to develop both vehicles. And it also means we can make our manufacturing plant more flexible and be able to produce more vehicles within the same space. That's where we are at the moment, where, as I said, we've almost produced our demonstrator vehicles, but our eyes are very fixed on the future of actually bringing these vehicles to the road, making them sellable, and getting those emissions reduced in real companies. So we're doing a lot of planning at the moment around our manufacturing site, trying to work with the Scottish government, and other governments are approaching us to try and see where we can get the best facility made, and trying to figure out, because we've almost got a blank slate of where we can go with manufacturing. So it's being able to set our own limits, to know what's too much, what's too little. We don't want to over-engineer our factory and spend too much currently, and we don't want to under-engineer and have to play catch-up later. So it's about getting the experts into our team, which we've already done, to move forward to manufacture. And it's also about getting the right organizations around us, and it's about getting the right support from the government. So the final thing that Dan asked me to do was to kind of say what we need, and we're a Scottish company at HVS. We want to remain in Scotland as long as we can. We want this to really be Scotland leading the world in hydrogen commercial vehicles. So we're looking for kind of 3 areas. Any investors out there, we're always happy to hear from you, and we've got a funding round coming up in the next year. Any component suppliers, such as what we just heard from, I think I'll talk to Ruan after this. Any components that are being produced in Scotland would be great, because we're having to look, we are trying to get the best components into our vehicles, but often we have to look abroad. And in terms of homegrown innovation, and in terms of reducing that supply chain distance, we do want to get as many Scottish innovators as we can, and get components produced within the UK and Scotland into our vehicles. And the final one is any customers out there who are interested in telling us what your needs are, so we can try and build those into our vehicles at this early stage, and also potentially do trials in the near future and become our customers in the future as well. So those are kind of the 3 opportunities that we would love to hear from you guys about, is investment, suppliers, and customers. Thank you for listening.